Welcome everyone to another Observability Clinic, community episode 15. Today, we're going to learn about SLO error budget burn rate based alerting. And I have invited Anton Freyberg. Anton, servus. Welcome to my clinic.
Servus. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Anton, really cool what you actually recently did. If you may do me the favor and actually click to the next slide. This whole community episode was triggered by a blog post that you just published, August 16th, actually. And it's about SLO-based alerting. It's about using SLOs to make sure that Dynatrace is better aware about what things are actually more important than others, because Dynatrace obviously detects anomalies in your system. And as you can see here from some of the screenshots I've also taken from the blog post and some of the things that came out in the conversation, we help our users with SLO-based alerting to really focus on the problems that really matter. Doesn't mean that the other problems are not important, but you really want to focus on problems that have a business impact. And this is where SLOs come in. Service level objectives allow you what are your business contracts. And then you can really have Dynatrace show you those problems that actually have an impact. And some of these numbers are really impressive, especially about reducing the noise and also faster notifications due to reduced alert delay. Folks, if you are listening to this, if you watch this, we also link to the blog post, but you can also scan the QR code here. I highly encourage you to watch this. But now, Anton, over to you, because I would really like to hear from you and see from you how people can adopt what you have done with some of our customers already.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'll start with a little summary of what we're going to go through today. I will, of course, explain a bit what an SLO is, refresh a bit the terminology around it so we're all on the same page. And then I'm going to go into what makes Dynatrace special, right? So really using causal AI to enrich the SLOs and explain why some targets might not be met. And after we do that, I'm going to show you in a hands-on how this might look like in Dynatrace and how you can set it up yourself, right? So over to the terminology. I'm going to explain what an SLI is, what an SLO is, what an error budget is, and what burn rate is, which might be the most interesting here. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because most of you have a lot of documentation around it. You have the knowledge. But if we look at an SLO, we always first have to decide what our SLI is, meaning the service level indicator. This is the metric that we're really looking that determines if a service is healthy or not. In my example here, if we look at failure rate or availability, we're looking at how many of my requests are successful, have a code to 100. Okay. The important part, the SLI has to be between 0 and 1 or 0 and 100, right? Because we talk about percentages. That's why we have that multiplication in this example. Now up to the SLO, which is really about taking this indicator, taking this metric, this indicator of health, and giving it a target, right? In this use case now, we're really looking at when is the quality good enough for me? What is my goal that I want to reach? What is also, some of the error budget that I'm allowing myself to have, because we do want to innovate. No one gets it 100% perfect all of the time. And so when we do have this target, we implicitly also build an error budget, right? So we are allowed to have a certain discrepancy between the 100% and what we want to reach. Okay, so this is what we call the error budget. It's basically the percentage that's left that we're allowed to fail. And if we have those two things, what we can now look at is the burn rate. So we call it burn rate all the time, but the terminology would be error budget burn rates. And now at this point, we're really looking at any point in time, how much of this error budget I'm burning through and how fast, right? It's really about how fast I'm burning through that. And so to give you examples, because that's probably the easiest way to explain it, I do have an error budget, which you see here. And I do have different types of burn rates. So if we talk of a burn rate being 1, for an SLO over a 30-day time frame, right? It means that I'm exactly going to meet my error budget. It's an on-point landing for the whole time, right? You can think of it as an example like a gas tank, right? You have a budget that you have for your road until the end of the month, and if you give too much gas on the first day, the budget will be narrowed down for the rest of the month, right? So it's not going to be constantly 1, but if you look at an average of 1 over 30 days, you're going to have a perfect landing. If we look at a burn rate of 2, this is already quite dangerous, because if you constantly have, or if you're constantly burning twice as much of your error budget as you're allowed, you're going to have no error budget left after 2 weeks already, right? Because the SLO has a time frame that's twice that. And now I gave a third example with a burn rate of 4, and then again, we're at 7 days, right? So almost. So this is really what we're looking at when we look at burn rate, and this is what we want to alert on, right? I want to know if at any point in time I'm burning really fast through my budget, if I have a leak on my tank and I'm losing a lot of gas real fast at some point in time, okay? And this is something that many companies have embraced and started alerting on. But now we want to go into the real differentiator when we look at the AI, the causal AI we want to bring into this alerting. So if we look at an application, if we look at a user interaction, what we see in Dynatrace, right, out of the box is we do have the AI alerting, we have the Smartscape, we know how different entities talk to one another. And when we look at this example from the login service, we can also talk about system boundaries around such a login service, right? Well, what do we mean by that? We really mean we have an interface between 2 systems. In this case, it's the user and the login, right? And the login service. And what we want to really focus on here is the interfaces between different system boundaries. You can think of the login service as a whole system. You can also think as your basket as a whole system, right? There is an interface between the user and your basket, right? He has to put things in there. And so what we really want to focus is around the edges of those system boundaries, because if those are affected, the whole system, the system as a whole is affected, right? And if something happens on my database, right, it will affect my login service, and then the system boundary is affected and the user will see the performance degrade on his end. And this is why we really focus on setting SLOs in there, right? There is no need to setting SLOs in every single entity, because Dynatrace knows the relationship between entities, and we can really use that to drill down on the things that matter, right? But this is an important decision. Where do I put my SLOs? What do I want to alert on?
I think this is, Anton, I think, sorry to interrupt you, but this is a really great example and visualization also of this. And I think what we need to make sure that everybody understands, as you correctly said, Dynatrace is doing a great job in detecting anomalies in all of your components, and we know how everything is connected. What we cannot know, because we don't have the domain knowledge, what is truly important for your business. And this is where SLOs come in, where you can say, this particular service is a system boundary to other systems, and maybe you have an obligation, a contract, like an SLA, a service level agreement. And with the concept of SLOs, you can teach basically the Davis causal AI what is more important. So when we then create our problems, we can actually say these problems are actually about to impact or are already impacting SLOs. It's a really nice way how you put it here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that. That's a great segue to this next slide, because that's the main focus, right? We really want to care only about the problems that really impact your business, impact the user experience. It's really about impact. And there's 2 ways that you can really control that. You say, those are my important services. And then by setting a target, you say, right, this is what I care about. This is the quality that I have to set on that specific service, right? If we look at this specific screenshot here of a basket resource, right? We see that quite well. Dynatrace detected 7 anomalies over time, and those are 7 anomalies that are real anomalies, right? There was a drop in quality there, but I set some targets that Dynatrace can't know about, right? I have a certain obligation, and so now I want to be alerted if that anomaly really impacts the quality standard I have set myself, that I want to monitor, that I want to reach, the reliability that I want to have on this service. And so this is a very good thing to mention, right? One is you control really what is it that I care about, and the second thing you control is what does it mean for me that the the quality is there for the customer. What are my standards? Okay, and so this is a very good example where you see a specific problem really impacting the quality of my basket, right? And this is probably the one that we want to focus on. This is the one that we want to alert on very fast, right? We want to remediate that because the burn rate is very high. If we keep that, even just for half an hour, we might miss all our targets. And this is why, alerting on the status is also something that we want to do. But if the status is red, it's too late already, right? I want to alert on me using too much gas at any point in time so I can react real fast. Okay. So this is something that we're going to see. And now what we want to take a look at also in a demo in the environment is how this is represented in Dynatrace, how we see that in the events in Dynatrace that make up problems. So most of you will know that Dynatrace has a whole lot of information on a problem, from the root cause to the impacted entities, what different events happen. And in this example here, when we look at it, we really see that we do have an impacted server. We have a front-end server that has a performance degradation, right? And we see the response time went down. And on top of that, what we're able to add now is say, this also impacts your burn rate. This impacts your SLO. Your SLO is in danger, right? And this is something that goes rightly in the impacted services category. And then if we look, okay, why is this SLO not met, right? This is where we can look at the root cause of a problem, where we get information about, the IAM going down, and I have events that Dynatrace detects, anomalies, like, there's many more users than I did expect, right? There's a huge load, maybe it's an attack, I don't know, but we also have information, right? Also on the IAM, right? This is also a crucial part of the system. It's a system boundary between, the one system, which is the application, and the user trying to log in. And this is also something that you will see in there. So it's really about enriching the SLO, right? Understanding why exactly am I in danger of missing my target, and enriching the problem, saying, hey, this is not just another problem. This is a serious problem impacting your SLO, right? Having said that, right? Perfect. So let's now take a look at such an example of what we just discussed in a live environment. And I prepared something for you. I prepared some nice SLOs, and one specific I want to look at it with you, right? So we have an easy travel availability SLO. I'm looking at the failure rate of a specific service. And what we did there, and what you already see, right? We chose the failure rate, and we're looking at our target that we set, right? 99.9.8 is what we want to reach. We said this is the quality that this easy travel service has to meet. And something that you already see purely from the visualization, we did have an error budget, and this is gravely in danger, right? It's red. We're seeing it's not being met. And again, it's fairly simple to see why that is. There was some outage that did impact the SLO quite harshly, right? And this is then something that Dynatrace does very, very nicely, is correlate the different information that Dynatrace has. It has a lot of information. And one it does have is, okay, there was an anomaly. We opened a problem, and it's telling me, right? There was a problem over the period of time that you're looking at. And this is something that we now want to take a look at, right? There was a problem, affected the SLO. And if I click on that filter, what I'm going to see is the specific problem that did make my error budget go in danger. My burn rate went up, and we want to take a look at what happened. So what I did is I created a burn rate alert on this SLO, and we want to see how this impacts the analysis of a problem. Okay, so the first thing to mention, the first thing to see is if I look at a problem, I already get the information, right? There is an affected SLO, right? This is the first thing to take a look at. Is one of my goals, in danger? And you clearly see it is. And now it's not a long way to understand, which one is it, what is happening. And what you will see in the impacted services is what we showed you before, this easy travel service, right? So this easy travel service here was impacted, and we do see very clearly here the alert triggered by the SLO saying, hey, your SLO is in danger. And you will see that on the left-hand side when you look at the impacted entities. When you look at the root cause, right, we want to understand what is the problem, what you will see is very clearly different events happening on this Easy Travel service. And we want to take a look at it in a bit more detail. So what I want to do is I want to open that service and analyze a bit better what happened here. And again, Dynatrace gives you, or really focuses on is there any impact to the SLOs you define, and you will see that straight away up here. I will see the information. Yeah, indeed, there is an SLO, that is mapped to this service, and this SLO is red, right? Because the status is bad, and the reason for it is that my error budget was burned through, and so my burn rate went up, and so I got the alert. And we can see the same view we saw before directly on the service, right? And if you want to understand a bit better what happened, we already have the visualization there. We see the failure rates. I also see that the response time went up by a lot. And if I go a bit down, and we already see it here in the events section, it's red. So it's telling me, look at your events, something happened in there. And so I just need to click on it. And when I do look at it, you will have a really, really important visualization, which is what happened over time, right? So the amount of times people see there is a problem, but don't understand it because someone triggered a new deployment and didn't tell anyone. You don't have that anymore, right? There was a new deployment and your team will directly see, okay, there was a restart and there was a deployment change, right? Something happened, a new version of the application was deployed. And what I then see is following that event of the deployment is my SLO or my burn rate is in danger. I'm burning through all of those, of that error budget that I set myself for that specific amount of time. And this is what the AI does in that case, right? It really takes the information from the SLO and puts it in the whole context of the AI. It correlates that information and therefore enriches both sides very, very much, right? The SLO giving you a really root cause understanding of what happened and why is my status in danger. And the other side is on a problem, understanding the impact, right? What does this problem mean for my application? My login service, it went down and now I understand, right? My SLO is in danger and maybe there's some SLA behind it, some contract. And I really have to take a look that this doesn't happen anymore and focus on the reliability and the stability of exactly that system.
Mm-hmm. Right. Anton, can you do me a favor? Can you scroll up again to the section where you had the SLO, basically right there, and click on the SLO? So what I liked about this is, we see all the data in context. I see that the SLOs are defined for this service. Now, if I remember correctly, the problem, and we see it in the top right, Dynatrace opened up this problem ticket at 11:00. So at 11 o'clock, the problem was opened. And now I think it's also then the maturity of an organization, how fast you can react to it. It took about, I would say, like 20 something minutes until the problem was kind of mitigated, until you maybe have rolled back to a different version or something like this. But the nice thing about this is Dynatrace alerts you very fast if there's a problem. And in this case, right, we actually get alerted on, hey, we are burning too fast through the error budget. We get the alert. We can then notify you through ServiceNow, Jira. We have all of these integrations available. We can trigger, automation scripts. We can trigger our own Dynatrace workflows to mitigate the problem even faster. And so I think if we are a mature enough organization, we can react to these problems within minutes. The nice thing would be we would have never violated the SLO because we would have reacted so fast. And I think that's also a key point here, right?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. That's something we do, in fact, see with our organization adopting this is, there's often this contradiction of I want to get alerts very, very fast, but only those that matter. And this is something very hard to set up logically, because how do you know, right, after 30 seconds, if a problem is really an impactful, important one that you want to get alerted after 30 seconds. And now you do, right? Because you did tell Dynatrace those are the goals I have to meet on the important entities. And if those are in danger, we alert straight away, right? This is what we would do, is alert as fast as possible, because as soon as my burn rate is breached, right? This is something that I want to know straight away, because my tank of gas is leaking. And if I don't react fast, it's too late and I'm not going to make it till the end of the month.
Anton, one last question. I know you have described it all in the blog post, but as people start adopting this, so creating SLOs is easy. We have a wizard where people can go through. How about the error budget, burn down, alerting? Is there anything additionally people need to do?
Yeah, I'm going to show you how to go through that. Thank you for asking. So what I want to do is go step by step, and I can't do that because it's not much, right? So through different steps of how to set it up. So I did set it up for the Easy Travel service before this demo, but I want to do it again, right? Just so you understand the steps involved. And the way I would do that is if I look at my SLO, if I analyze it, I have those 3 dots here, right? You would also have it on the service tree before, and it already tells me, right? Do you want to alert on this SLO? And when we click on that, the first thing he gives me, you probably want to alert on burn rate, and you probably want to, do that straight away out of the UI, right? No complications. So I do it, I create alert, and basically that's the first step. And with that, you do have an alert, right? In order to now have that real AI SLO merging, if you want, there's a few extra steps to do. And it does send me directly to the configuration. So I'm already on the page, I'm already looking at it. And the important things to take a look at are all the way at the bottom of the page, right? He tells me, or Dynatrace tells me, what kind of alert is this? Right? Because you were looking at a burn rate. How do I analyze this? How is the AI supposed to put that in context? And you could have SLOs on a response time, for example, and then you would have to select slowdown. But I'm looking really at error rates, right? So I do tell the AI, look at errors, and then I want to allow it to merge different problems. So what will happen is, you might create a problem through that burn rate. But what we saw in my problem very well is that the events from the burn rate get merged into the already existing problem from Dynatrace. And so I do want to have that, and I do have to explicitly tell it so. And so I do, right? So Dynatrace now, if I go down a bit, and you will see it here, Dynatrace understands, who's impacted. It's the specific service from this SLO, right? And understands who this service talks to, and also now understands what kind of problem it is, and it's allowed to merge the specific event with the ones that the AI already understands. And it's important to say it's a two-side, it's a two-way thing, right? It does merge. If my burn rate is faster than the AI, right, then the AI will just merge all the information into that SLO problem. So you get the understanding, oh, my SLO breached, and then you open Dynatrace and you will see the root cause coming in, right? And so you're really proactive when you're looking at from it that way. And the other way is, I might have some a memory issue that I didn't take a look at for a while, and it's just sitting there. And at some point, the service starts failing, and then my SLO is breached, and then it gets merged into that existing problem, and then you're able to really see in context, why you missed it. And so this is what we want to do, right? And then we have a few little things that are up to everyone to tweak. So as we mentioned on burn rate, I usually tend to say I want to get alerted quite fast because it's impactful. And you can play around with how fast such an event is created, right? So the default being it's 10 failed samples, so 10 minutes in an hour time range where the burn rate is too high. I tend to go lower, but then again, it really depends on what you're looking at. And then what you can do is just take a look. How would this look like on past data, right? And this is really, really cool because sometimes you don't understand, right, if a target was set correctly or not because you don't know, but you can look at the past and say, this service is extremely good. Why settle with such a low target? And so this is something that you can then do, and it's going to tell you, we would have opened an alert at that period of time in the past with the configuration that you have. And that's really extremely powerful for you to, as a last check, understand, is that something that's really gives me good alerts.
Cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And all of this it's really, thank you so much for going through all the details, showing also the power. Now, it's great to have all of this configurable in our Dynatrace UI, but for many of our customers where you want to configure everything as code, you can obviously configure all of this fully hands-off with Dynatrace configuration as code, either through Terraform or through Monaco, or you're just making calls to the Dynatrace API yourself because everything is based on our API 2.0 framework. So it's really nice.
Absolutely. So the Terraform provider has the SLOs, Monaco has the SLOs. And if you're just interested in looking at it, you can also open the API interface in Dynatrace that tells, if you just want to read it, or if you want to update this value or edit, a copy of it as a new value, you already have the JSON files in there. So that's really, really powerful.
Very nice. Anton, thank you so much for doing this and for going through all the details. It's great that all of this started with a success story from one of our users where you actually implemented this. That was followed by the blog post. The blog post triggered this video. We bring everything to life so that many more people can actually enjoy this and apply this technique. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to have you back because I'm pretty sure you're doing more amazing things with SLOs and with error budgets and whatever else there is in the future with customers.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.